Mercedes are doing the unexpected? The Silver Arrow's recent W14B upgrade doesn't seem to be delivering significant improvements, with both Russell and Hamilton still facing difficulties driving the car, despite Hamilton's Silverstone podium finish. To make matters worse, there's troubling news coming out of Brackley as the team seems to be embarking on a course that Hamilton previously straight up complained at the FIA for. Considering the bad performances from both drivers and Mercedes not having much of their season's budget cap, it raises the question about whether the Silver Arrows can even be the second best team on the grid. At the British Grand Prix, Mercedes fell behind McLaren in the race for second place behind Red Bull, and Hamilton couldn't outperform Lando Norris. Yet Hamilton's P2 finish might have been a stroke of luck, aided by the introduction of a virtual safety car, which subsequently turned into a full safety car. Had this flow of events not happened, Hamilton would probably have missed his 14th Silverstone podium finish, and Mercedes could have experienced a more substantial loss to their customer team, McLaren. Piastri seemed well positioned to outpace Russell under standard conditions, as we all saw when he put hard tyres towards the end of the race. Russell stated that the McLaren performed better on hard tyres than his own Mercedes on slightly older mediums, and a day earlier, Hamilton referred to McLaren's qualifying speed as a wake-up call and suggested that their pace resembled Red Bull's. The Grand Prix underscored that a crucial element is still missing in Mercedes' efforts to perfect the W14. When first introduced at the Monaco Grand Prix, the major revision to the W14 seemed to promise the performance enhancement Mercedes needed to compete for wins. However, they haven't been able to maintain this initial momentum in the next few races due to their inconsistency issues. As Mercedes seems destined to remain in the pack chasing Red Bull, there's growing acceptance that the long-awaited upgrades to the W14, considered key to narrowing the gap to the front-runners, are unlikely to materialize. This is why Toto Wolff, the team boss, is beginning to believe that Mercedes may need to admit its best strategy is to dedicate all its resources towards what is anticipated to be a significant overhaul for the following season. When asked when would they make such a decision, he stated, "I think pretty soon. We have no choice. P2 or P3 fundamentally doesn't impact me in the team. It's about coming back and being able to win a world championship in that respect. That's not going to happen this year. So we need to set our eyes to next year and then, at all the races to come, learn and develop and make sure that we can carry that forward into next year. But having said that, the regulations are the same. So it's not that you're not learning nothing by continuing this car. It's a balance that we have to strike right." While McLaren's sudden, huge progress this season demonstrates the potential for significant improvements, Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff has expressed doubt about his team achieving similar goals in the near future. He attributes this to the limitations enforced by the cost cap and restrictions on wind tunnel usage, which leave Mercedes in a position to introduce only minor upgrades for the rest of the season. Wolff believes that these constraints, coupled with McLaren's relative advantage in wind tunnel and computational fluid dynamics usage, have in a way set Mercedes' performance and development back. McLaren, who were in the 5th or 6th position mid-season, have capitalized on their extra wind tunnel allocation resulting from previous championship standings, thereby intensifying the competition. Wolff remains skeptical about any future upgrades, which would significantly change the car's fundamental capabilities. However, he acknowledged potential minor upgrades and expressed optimism that even a small improvement, perhaps a 10th or 2, could greatly impact their grid position, reflecting those very fine margins in Formula One. Mercedes' realization that attention may need to shift towards the 2024 season was underscored by a disappointing outing at the British Grand Prix, a race for which they had high expectations. They anticipated that the high-speed turns of Silverstone would favor their car, but it was McLaren that stole the show with an impressive performance. Despite these hurdles, Wolff is still confident that the team can triumph over Verstappen at some stage. However, he concedes that this won't be easy, particularly considering that he views the current car as even more challenging for his drivers than the notoriously difficult 2017 W08 model, infamously known as the Diva. The funny and ironic thing I might say is that just barely 2 weeks ago, Hamilton was advocating for the FIA to prohibit early next season car developments to level the playing field, and now it's Mercedes considering taking such a direction. It's rather intriguing, given that Mercedes themselves significantly profited from this strategy for nearly 8 years, with whispers suggesting they began their hybrid engine car development almost 10 years prior. Therefore, I find it somewhat contradictory for them to argue against a 7-month head start now. However, tampering with this rule could be risky. Indeed, it may restrict teams like Red Bull, currently enjoying a leading edge, from extending their advantage into the next season. But it also impedes lower-ranking teams with fundamental car flaws from making any, if all, modifications until the specified date, which would essentially make the grid stagnant for a longer period of time. A sliding scale approach similar to the wind tunnel usage that adjusts based on Constructors' Championship rankings could be a solution. However, would imposing development dates in a sport deeply rooted in engineering progress be the right call? It's still unsure. Interestingly, since 2022, predicting race outcomes based on past form has been unsuccessful, illustrated by Wolff's assumption that Silverstone, traditionally a strong circuit for Mercedes, would deliver their best race, and this assumption, however, was proven to be wrong, because the car characteristics do not suit the Silverstone track. Prior to the Brazilian Grand Prix last year, Hamilton expressed uncertainty about Mercedes' performance at upcoming circuits, which, in retrospect, may have been an early warning sign. However, Norris cautioned McLaren against becoming overconfident following their success at Spielberg, traditionally their strongest circuit, and we all saw how that turned out. Fundamentally, it seems that many teams are still grappling to fully understand the 2022 cars. Ted Kravitz pointed out during pre-season the teams were discovering substantial time gains in the wind tunnel in unexpected ways by up to half a second, which proves that this year's cars are an unusual batch. This unpredictability is evident in the fluctuating pole positions among Ferrari, Mercedes, Aston Martin, and now McLaren in the race for the second-best car this season. This variability could, however, be a strategic ploy, as finishing lower this season would result in more wind tunnel time for the next one. Red Bull clearly stands out as the team that has a strong grasp of their car's performance, which is reflected in their consistent winning streak. Even when their advantage gets smaller due to specific track layouts or cooler weather conditions, they still manage to secure comfortable victories. And in contrast, for other teams, less than perfect conditions often result in a trip back into the midfield. The primary problem for Mercedes appears to be their difficulty in devising solutions to the issues they've identified. If they continue to face correlation problems, their remedies for the 2024 season might essentially be akin to guesswork, unless they choose to verify them on the W14. While core components like the tub, gearbox casing, and rear suspensions can't be changed, elements like the floor underbody, rear wing, side pods, and engine cover can still be worked on. Moreover, this is one of the downsides of the budget cap. While it has been successful in making the field more competitive, it has significantly limited teams' flexibility in terms of in-season development compared to the past. Yet witnessing teams like Aston Martin and McLaren make considerable strides this year suggests that the current set of rules, both technical and financial, is effective. Apart from Max Verstappen and Red Bull, this season has shown fierce competition, and even if he didn't have a massive lead at Silverstone, which was a surprising deviation from the norm. Regardless, any decision Mercedes makes will be intended to enhance the team's future goals, given their proven ability to deliver strong results. We can only speculate about their plans for 2024, assuming they decide to start work on next year's car. However, if they are indeed writing off this season, does this suggest Hamilton is set to renew his contract, especially as we await official confirmation following reports of the negotiations reaching some sort of a dead end? We'll have to wait and see, but one thing is for sure: the battle for the second-best team this season promises to be a fun one. Let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Should Mercedes scrap this season and focus on the next one? Thank you for watching Racing Zone, and we will see you in the next video.